Okay, I guess it's time to do a live stream. Oh, just made it. Welcome to Live Chats, everybody. Thanks for coming on board. It's 8:15 p.m. on a Wednesday night back here in South Australia, finally. So I think I might have got the time about right this time. Sorry, John, if I still got it wrong. John Wayman, that is. He'll be out there on the replays later on. G'day, Daryl. Welcome aboard. Good afternoon to the WA crew. Good afternoon to the Northern Territory crew and JK up there in downtown Hillston. G'day O'Malley Tours, welcome aboard again. Yeah, it's cold. It's a cold Adelaide night tonight. Yeah, a bit sick of the cold. Steve, welcome aboard. Nico, thanks for coming on board. Andy Munro, welcome back. You missed the more exciting stream last week where I was alive on a train platform. Sorry I can't be that exciting and have massive freight trains going past in the background every week. Yeah, back in the studio or in my study again here tonight in Radelaide. And so, yeah, as usual. G'day, Graham. Welcome aboard, sir. As usual, yeah, what have you been up to? Let us know. I recently came back from northern New South Wales, did the 20-hour drive over Friday and Saturday, and then spent some time back here at home creating that last video I released just the other day, the rambles around the Coffs Yards, which was a bit of fun to make. Yeah, I do need to move to an old train station, preferably one that has trains going past all the time. My wife would hate it, but yeah, just quietly, I would just love to live right next to an active railway line. But hey, you know, each their own. I might run through the video that I just released there as well, and I can't figure out how to get rid of the reflection from the screen to these glasses. It's just not working out for me. I need to keep working on that. Run through the vid with a bit of commentary again, bit of a shorter vid this time, and I've got another one in the works. I'll show you a slideshow of the historical images that I've collected of the British Australian tramway up there in Coffs, and I've managed to dig up a lot more of this story than I thought was available, say a year ago, when I started to think about following this old line and making this video. I didn't feel like there was an awful lot of information out there. I feel like there are a lot about some projects, but this one actually turned out to have a lot more images available online. And a lot more information, including the stuff that was sent to me. Then we'll do Book of the Week. I had a great time exploring up around the Northern Rivers region of Coffs Harbour, and if I can find it... oh dear, now I have to find it. Here we go. I will just screen cap this image because it's just easier. So I was up in a place called Ulmarra, which is about 10 minutes north of 10 minutes north of Grafton, on the old Pacific Highway, and there's a bookstore there called the Ulmarra Bookstore, unsurprisingly, and it's been a go-to bookshop of mine for years. So this is just an image of just one section of the bookshop. It's about as big as, say, your regular house with an add-on out the back, and every room of it is just filled floor to ceiling with books. Really narrow walkways, just a bit wider than my shoulders. Books on the floor, books on top of the bookshelves, books behind books, books all in all sorts of different directions. This place is just mental. And this shelf is the railway bookshelf. So I spent a good half an hour or so just rabbiting through that bookshelf. I brought back 4 books right off the top of my head, which I'll catch up on, and I'll bring into the live stream as a book of the week. Got one coming up. Okay, let's get out of that. And then I've decided to do a new thing called Comment of the Week as well. So when we get the YouTubers would know that you get some negative comments from time to time. And so I'm going to bring in a little section where I will bring in Comment of the Week where they're available. Yeah, JK, it was organised chaos. The guy who works in this shop, a man named Russell Brownlee, he has been there for decades and decades, and this shop is amazing. And he's always there sitting in his corner, and when he adds it up on his calculator after having written it in pencil in a book, he'll be like, yeah, that adds up to $90. Tell you what, just give us $75, and away you go. I saw a photo, I saw your camper parked in the background of a shot you did, O'Malley. I think it was, I don't know, either it might have been the Springton Oval, so I'm presuming you might have been on a bush bashing trip. Yeah. Try being an admin of a Facebook group. I used to be admin of some Facebook groups, which were kind of for shits and giggles, but I do admin some reasonably big Facebook groups as well, just sometimes not as crazy as the sort of smaller Facebook groups. I manage Walking SA, I've been managing Camper Agent for a while, and yeah, negative comments, right? They come thick and fast. And I just thought, you know what, instead of deleting them or responding to them, I'm just going to highlight them and bring them onto the stream here and keep them, because at the end of the day, all comments and all engagement matters, and leaving negative comments up there is fine, because it's really, in this day and age, it says more about the poster of the comment than it does about the board that they've posted it on. So O'Malley had suspension collapsed. Skull drag it back to my mate's farm. Oh dear. Did you home make the suspension, O'Malley, or what? What's going on there? But I like the look of your camper. It seems pretty cool. you should actually do a bit of a video on it, or if you have done a video on it, then you should share it with us so we can have a look. I love the idea of those campers having just come out of, caravan and RV photographer roles. Not everybody's got 200, 250 grand to blow on a luxury caravan or motorhome package. And so that'll be about it, really. So, old boat trailer. That's a really interesting project by the sounds of it, dude. Be interesting to see or hear more of it. Let's fire up the video, and I'm going to run through it. And that's one of the things we'll probably do on the stream as well, is we'll run through my most recent videos where I've released a video, and I'll do a bit of commentary on it along the way. Hopefully I've got the sound levels right. Let me know if I don't.
Welcome back to Outdoors Type, and we're back at it again. This time we're on the platform of Coffs Harbour Station, and we're going to go exploring the area around Coffs Harbour and some of the old railways that still exist. We'll show you some historic images to give you an idea of the progress from then until now. Stick around and enjoy.
Coffs Harbour is on the North Coast Railway Line, which is the primary rail route through the mid-north coast to the Northern Rivers regions of New South Wales. It's a major part of the Sydney to Brisbane rail corridor. The line began with a railway from Maitland to Dungog in 1911. This was extended to Gloucester, Taree and Coffs Harbour in 1913, and from Glenray to South Grafton, now Grafton Station, in 1915. I'm getting a bit quicker at these animations. Coffs Harbour and Glenray, which contains 5 tunnels, wasn't completed until 1922. There was also once quite a few timber tramways in the area, and I'll get into them later. For now, let's look at the area around Coffs Harbour. I always found it interesting how the North Coast line was kind of completed in the middle. It wasn't completed, all in a row like a lot of railway lines are. They were completed in different sections, and that last section wasn't completed until 1922, but it wasn't until 1926, I think, that the bridge over the Clarence River at Grafton was built. So it was higgledy-piggledy and kind of connected in the middle. I think it connected in the middle too. It's worth bearing in mind because the main North line titled Coffs Harbour ran up across the New England plains and was already in place carrying freight. And one of the most prominent the line along the coast was considered pretty difficult. Railway station was the railway refreshment rooms. They closed in 1964, just 3 years before Peter arrived. There were apparently 5 categories of refreshment room services. Shouts out to Max Hobby if you're around. With a liquor bar, meals and counter service. Peter also said that in 1967 the railways conveyed nearly all freight and people mostly travelled by train. These were truly the railway's heydays. The jetty area in the vicinity of the railway was a very busy precinct of industry. The PDS bulk food business, Murray Bailey's Caltex depot and cement agency, Shell had a depot. Yeah, you're right, JK. Bridge. The Banana Growers Federation operated on the northern point of the yard with You're right, it connected in the middle. Obviously, the middle bit wasn't built until last years from the first building provided in 1915. The present station building opened in 1970. That's right. I mean, the railway lines were built, more for freight and more for sort of economic considerations. I was reading some interesting stuff in my book of the week about how railway lines were built to go to the coast, and little regard was sort of given to connecting towns and connecting things up back in the day. It was just more about moving logs to the coast or moving produce to towns.
I'm no expert on the railways around here. I'm just an explorer. The former freight yard and crossing loop behind me here in the empty space across from the station closed in 1996, and it's now only in 2024 that discussions are beginning in earnest for the redevelopment of the area. Well, we are just north of Marina Drive here, and in this fenced off section of the harbour foreshore, I do believe we have found some evidence of some of the old railway sidings. This might have been the old Banana Growers Federation siding, or it might have been the
G'day Ree, welcome aboard.
plywood siding. There's certainly some rails.
Sadly this week I am not in Coffs Harbour.
Over here you can see an old set of points there, the rail only. There's no sleepering or ballast or any of that remaining, but this may be the only evidence remaining of railway sidings in this area. Like many of the areas that I go exploring, these old railway precincts are a bit of a wasteland. It's now used as a bit of an overnight camping area. This is the area where my grandmother and her family grew up in dirt-floored huts back in the 1940s, in the early days of Coffs Harbour. A lot of progress has happened since then, and it's unrecognisable from the area that it once was. So that's why it's so special to me to go exploring this foreshore area around Coffs Harbour.
This is one of the few YouTube videos that I've done without drones. Those of you who know Coffs Harbour know that, you know, the area is a no-fly area with the airport approach path directly overhead.
It was built to make the loading of logs from the forests around and other goods onto ocean-going ships much easier. This jetty once had rail lines along it and loaded large cargo ships using huge cranes. It really is just a shadow of its former glory. There's some of the old rail lines embedded in the jetty walkway here. I guess we're not really even sure if they're from all of the rails that used to be around this area.
Welcome aboard if you've just joined us. Welcome to Good Chats. We do this every Wednesday night. It's just a bit of a chat about the videos that I do here on Outdoors Type and railway history and the like, and what's up and coming and what you all have been up to. Obviously it can be outdoors related, history related. Welcome aboard, pipe up if you haven't already. The arrival of the railway in 1912 meant Coffs Harbour's days as a major shipping port were numbered. The number of ships loaded at the jetty dropped by more than half by the 1930s. But light railways helped build the breakwalls, stone by stone. The original layout of the Coffs station yards allowed for connections to these construction lines. The headland was actually a separate island once. At high tide, seas from the south boiled through a rocky passage. In 1913, work commenced to build a viaduct connecting the mainland to South Coff Island, on which a quarry would provide rock for the breakwaters, including filling the gap, partially enclosing the harbour area. Buffalo Trace bourbon tonight. Not bad. Haven't tried this before. Not bad. Oh no, did I just accidentally say British American Tramway in the video there? I just realised. It is and always has been the British Australian Tramway. I've got a video coming up on it next. I've just started reviewing the footage that I've got of some of the old formations from that old line. God, I just thought then for a minute I might have actually just called it the British American Tramway, because I so want to call it the British American Tramway if I'm not thinking about it. I included this shot because I was swooped by a nesting heron and nearly had a car accident to get the shot. Do you know what? I paid for that shot, so I'm going to include it. A couple of other locations. Park Beach Station was an unmanned platform on the western side of Coffs Creek. It opened in 1925 and operated until it closed in 1974. It was popular with day trippers who would come from much further afield to enjoy a day at the beach. The Borelli Bridge is a steel bridge completed in 1988 as part of a major highway upgrade. I can't stand IPA beers, but releasing a beer might be good. Yes, the heron tax. I didn't really realise at the first swoop or two what was happening, and then I realised what was happening. It was a very long walk across to the other side of the field. New South Wales Trainlink operates daily XPT services, and freight services on the North Coast line are operated. I waited half an hour for that shot of the XPT because it was late. These super freighters don't stop at the towns they pass through, though.
Well, that's it, folks, and thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and subscribe.
Certainly worse places to spend half an hour waiting to watch a train go by, though. Yeah, cool. So that was that video. That one was a long time coming, that video. I'd really started thinking about making that video probably around a year ago. And it kind of just took me all that time to get back to Coffs Harbour, to be quite honest, and get the shots that I wanted. I had a great time there in Coffs, just exploring, kind of being off the leash and just, having a day to just drive and go wherever around Coffs. The kids and wife and kids were having fun back at the pool, and it was just a great day just exploring around the town that, I know my way around, and I'm delving a bit more into the history now. And I spent a bit of time following the old route of the British Australian Tramway. Good times with my uncle as well, Gary, who hopefully will get more involved in the content that I'm doing. You're right, JK. I did plan to do a fairly quick stream last week, and it just turned into a bit of a train spotting marathon. So yeah, here's to being off the leash in Coffs Harbour and just having the time to kind of hang around and do this stuff. I am planning another trip soon. I'm starting to zero in, given that I came back in through Oyen and Pinaroo on Saturday, back into South Australia. We were driving along the Mallee Highway, and if you ever drive that way at the moment, maybe give it a miss for a month or two, or maybe even longer, because they're doing some massive roadworks along. Although it's pretty unavoidable if you're going to go that way, to be honest. There's not much by way of detour of the Mallee Highway, but there's roadworks all the way between Geranium and past Sherlock. And you're down to 40 on some of those sections. They're rebuilding the entire thing, and there was more sets of traffic lights along that section of road than there was on the rest of the road trip from Coffs Harbour. Bears, dogs, and king brown snakes come across. You do, yeah. But I am planning trips soon, and I'm looking at Western Victoria. I'm looking at the Moringa or the Wirramal or whatever it's called line to Red Cliffs. I bet, Andy, because there's not much by way of detour to get around that, if that's the way you're going to go to Tailem Bend or through the Mallee. And I bet it would have caused quite a few people to be a bit late, and it had me kind of wondering why. Well, it was just random, I guess, but I kind of thought, maybe I could have chosen the way back through the Riverland, which generally takes about 20 minutes to half an hour longer, but it would have worked out about the same. So yeah, there's a parallel road from Lameroo to Peak. I'm just trying to think. 110. Which road's that? O'Malley, that would have taken a lot of time out. I'm trying to think. I can't think of the parallel road there. I'll look it up, or maybe you can just give me a name and we'll look it up, because I am thinking of going back out that way. Now, O'Malley, I really wish that I had taken more seriously the information that you sent me about that train that ran out to Murrayville earlier in the year, because it doesn't look like it's running out to Murrayville anytime soon. And now that I'm sort of looking at those Western Victoria lines, I'm thinking of heading back out that way again soon. We'll start sort of in the north, up around Mildura, and then head down through to the south and southeast. So, we're talking the lines around Arapiles and all those kind of areas. Um, right, okay, all right. I get it. No, it's not quite. It's not the same as the Mallee Highway, but so Paraky, so it actually runs through the towns. You guys know, you would know the area. Um, I thought it was dirt road, but anyway, I will stand corrected. Because I do want to head out that way again soon. I was looking around Oyen. Actually, I was sort of keeping one eye on the time, and I think it's time for me to start heading over there to Western Victoria and start looking at these lines through places like Albacotya and Patchawallock and Boinker. I always found it an interesting name, although I'm pretty sure it's not pronounced Boinker, but we just call it Boinker every time we go through it, just for fun. Then there's what is it? Yeah, like I said, the Moringa and the Wirramole and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, looking forward to having a couple of trips. I've got approvals, we've got budgets, and you know that'll come up in the next few weeks. But it'd just be nice for a weekend to not spend the entire thing on the road. But yeah, probably next weekend after that, I'll probably end up spending the entire thing on the road heading back out there. So that will be interesting. I'll do a bit of research on that. I'm not really sure if I want to go with the I'm not really sure whether I want to go with the whole full research thing this on the next couple of videos. I don't know. I think I just want to go out there and you know, capture a bit more by drone and get back to those kind of, you know, drone music video routes for a little bit, because I'm a bit exhausted after the research of the Pitchy Richie video, of the Coffs video, and the upcoming British Australian Tramway video. And it'd be nice to just get back to those just flow with the visuals kind of routes, you know. So we've done that. What else am I going to do? Yeah, there's other trips. There's other videos coming up. I actually wrote this down earlier. So I'm still planning to go up to Port Pirie around there and do the old narrow gauge railway line, broad gauge railway line between Red Hill and Port Pirie. There's still some bridges and some interesting things to have a look at out there at Wandera and Neuron. I've still got the project on the boil with the old Corn Station Master. Got the BAT Railway coming up. At one stage, I'd like to go out to do the old Alice Springs narrow gauge line. That's on the radar for middle of next year. I'm starting to collect more resources around these old refreshment rooms, and I don't know what the story will be yet. A bit like this Coffs Harbour video, it might be another year or two, but things are starting to collect for that one. Western Victoria, as I said, and that might even be a bit of a silos and trains, and with a kind of a view to these football teams and the way sporting teams moved around the area as well. I figure maybe if I do the Oyen to Murrayville line, I could kind of contrast that in the same video with the line from Pinnaroo through to Tailem Bend. Even though I've already done that part of line, it might be interesting to do it again coming from Oyen and just have that contrast through the video. They might even start taking a closer look at some old South Australian railway stations and their precincts as well, similar to the way that I looked at Owen in a video a few videos ago, and just go into a little more detail and make shorter videos about specific locations. And definitely still on the list is the line from Mount Gambier to Hayward, which apparently is still in pretty good nick, but that's going to be another overnight trip there as well. So, you know, there's 2 or 3 overnight trips there, a few day trips, and then there's one big trip coming back down to going to Alice. Yeah, Oyen's a bit far for a day trip. You can smash it out there in just over 4 hours, as you well know. But I do want to probably spend a night or 2 out that way, so I can kind of do sort of the Arapalis line. It's not called the Arapalis line, Carpolac line, I think is what it's called. Then you've got the Albacotya line, and then you've got the Patchawallock line, and then you've got the Moringa line. I can figure I can probably do all of those in an overnight trip, providing, you know, I start early and finish late. But you know what, start early and finish late is not really a problem. Just did 2 days of driving up at 4:30 in the morning out of Coffs Harbour or West Wyalong or Forbes or wherever it was at 5:30 in the morning, and get to destination, around 5:30. So 12-hour days on the road is not a huge thing yet. Yeah, right. Well, let's figure out, at some stage, they're possibly doing a collaboration down around that area. I think some of these smaller lines and more forgotten lines are really interesting because they're quite niche, right? There are a lot of railway lines that have a lot of history around them. It's very interesting when you look at the Wirramaw line and the Moringa line. The Victorian Model Train Society's created a massive resource on that line. It's colloquially called the Boinker Beetle, and so, but where do they live in Boinker? There's no houses in Boinker. How do footy players live if they don't have any houses? There's a beetle that's never been discovered out there, the Boinker beetle. But I'm pretty sure that scientists are not aware of it, but the players from the Murrayville Football Club are definitely aware of it. I might go out there to Boinker and test that theory out. We'll capture one of these Boinker beetles and see if it's just as tasty as a birdie beetle. That could be a challenge. All right, now the mouse doesn't work because it's not connected to this computer. We'll throw in the slideshow. So these are some pretty crazy. I was walking up through some of these cuttings, which I'll put the footage in the next video of, and it's just weird to think that it's just all disappeared, but at some stage there would have been steam trains going through these cuttings. I was even talking to some forestry people who were up there in the Bruxner Park Gap who were fixing waypoints on the trails that run down through the valley there where it just starts off the back of Bruxner Park Peak. And this beautiful creek, and they're doing the waypoints along the trails there, and I was actually telling them how I'd found this base and why I was there, and telling them about how it had all the hallmarks of an old tramway, because it was. So some of the historical images. Now, can I get my controls on the slideshow? There we go. And they had a bridge on Park Beach or across the Coffs Creek, which predated the railway bridges. Although in a lot of these photos that I'm going to show too, I'm going to contrast the height of that bridge with the railway bridges that were built. The old mill, which will interest Coffs Harbour people because the area has changed completely since the early days. This is a view from Macaulay's Headland, showing some cuttings and some other work which I went exploring and went to look for as well. Almost impossible to find over 100 years later. I knew Witcher-proof, but never been there when a train was running down the main street. Witcher-proof. Okay, that's really interesting. I'm going to write that down. Because trains running down the middle of a main street is always interesting. Some of these photos, interesting black and white photography, or the way photography worked, and some just seem clearer than others. This is the old and new railway bridge over Coffs Creek. Got this one from my uncle because as we were exploring the other day, this is a great example of what used to happen at the railheads, where bullocks would drag these giant logs down to the railhead, and they'd get cut up a bit and then chucked on the ramshackle tramways. And these are the engines. So they swapped out this old engine. There's another shot of the dirt. There's an old road bridge from my uncle. There's people picnicking there. there's the new engine, and I mentioned at some stage, I'm pretty sure in one of my narratives for the video, because I started to get the impression, because of this engine, this was a geared engine, and I started to somehow get the impression in my head that this railway line was like a cog railway or something. But it turns out I got that wrong. It's just like a geared engine, and so the front set of trucks pivots, and they are run by a set of gears. Yes, that's right. It's the SA engine. It'll probably scab a ciggy from you and be wearing slides and an Adidas bum bag. But yeah, these are really interesting engines, very unique. And as I started to read more about them, became more and more interesting. So I thought I'd better mention the SA engines with the independent suspension to cope with the gearing needs of really steep inclines. And if you've been to Coffs and you've been up Bruxner Park Road, you'd kind of think that having to be the engine driver, driving logs up down this railway, down this incline, or up this incline, would have actually been mildly terrifying. This is a rare look, and the more I look at the image collections, particularly Coffs collections, this is a shot where you can see the jetty on the right, Muttonbird Island nearly in the middle there, no breakwaters, no harbour, no marina, and you can see the railway line running along the Park Beach foreshore. And again, if you have only been introduced to the area recently and you're looking at these photos now, this is pretty crazy. More close-up shots of Coffs Creek. Spent a lot of time down there by Coffs Creek trying to match these shots. I didn't do well because of the different light. I only managed to get down there at sunrise on the last day finally. Current railway bridge. This is the old site of the sawmill, which sometimes photos kind of send me on a bit of a wrong path. I'm going to have to find out more about this image, because this indicates that the sawmill was at a different place than another image indicates the sawmill was, so that's a little confusing. This is looking up Jetty Road, I can't remember what it's called, from where Marina Drive is essentially now, where the railway crossing is these days, looking towards Coffs Harbour CBD and the Pier Hotel, which is obviously upgraded and is still there today and is still the Pier Hotel, but that's it there. You can see it generally in the middle there, and there's a lot going on here. When the Timber Tramway was in full effect, not long before the North Coast Rail came through. And we are back around again to the beginning of the slideshow. So Wycheproof is famous for this line running down the middle, so I'm going to have to call on some mates like Kane's Trains or whatever, although he's been pretty prolific on Facebook recently, having just recently moved to Alice Springs by the looks of things, and there's a lot to catch up with in old rail history out there. So that was that slideshow. What was I going to do next? I was going to do comment of the week, so I do that in the share Chrome, and I will go to that comment, shares and mentions. Let's see if I can bring it up and get it right. There we go. And so this comment was on the Pinaroo railway line video, actually, and it simply just read, "Get rid of the music." Yeah, no worries. Bloke who's made one YouTube video. I'll definitely get rid of the music. I'm back now, JK. Sorry. Sometimes the chat is running a little bit behind, but I forgot to put my face over the top of the slideshow this time. Never a dull moment when it comes to streaming. So anyway, that's fine. It'd be really good if you could put an unlike on my video as well. Essentially, the YouTube algorithm sees all engagements, unlikes, and likes as essentially the same engagement unit, which means somebody's bothered to engage with the content, and so they all work for me, really. Do you guys get them on your YouTube videos a lot? Andy, you've been getting really popular on some social media platforms with your videos as well, and I bet you experience a bit of troll comments. So I thought I'd just bring this out for a bit of light-hearted fun, basically. There's been a few more over the time on YouTube videos. I find YouTube is actually pretty good for that. Facebook can be a bit of a bear pit sometimes when it comes to content. That's why I really don't do too much on Facebook. It can lead to a fair bit of toxicity, and YouTube actually is sort of at a different level. You don't see this a lot, but I think I'm going to treat it, as I keep saying here, as a bit of fun, and hopefully y'all do too. Definitely not worth taking on board, that's for sure. Now we're going to move on to but it's on videos. Oh, okay, yeah. But it's on videos that are controversial. Yeah, well, you want to do photo videos sometimes that are controversial. That's kind of what the media is for as well, is to fire things up and to have discussions. And when I'm doing this for work, for example, for Walking SA or other brands or whatever, it's good to post something that provokes reactions and provokes emotions. I think maybe that's why you've been so successful as well, Andy. I don't know, but that's definitely, everybody has an opinion about football, right? And particularly passionate country people have a lot of opinions about football, particularly on Facebook. So yeah, we'll move on from that one, and hopefully we get some choice new negative comments of the week. And we'll just leave it up there as a bit of fun. Now we'll go back to the main scene. So I found this book in Ulmarra, 10 minutes north of Grafton, and it's called The Pitchy Ritchie Railway. It is the... Oh God, that doesn't work very well, does it? The lighting on this. It is the 1975 edition. Probably the first booklet on the Pitchy Ritchie Railway. And again, me being a word nerd kind of person, just loves the contrast in the old school low budget layout that we've got in this book. It's interesting to note that it's really just about the text, but this book is much smaller. It's much closer to the creation of the railway and the days when it actually started. So essentially 1973, where are we? The first day was around 1975, I think. Yeah, the first run was in 1973, 1974, I reckon. So this book was literally just released, I guess, as a promo when the thing was. Does it smell? It smells like old books, but it does have a bit of a smell. We've seen a lot of these engines, and we've seen a lot of these names. You don't really find out who it was done by until the end. It was compiled by Jack Babbage, I think, who's since passed, and who did the next book, which this is related to, and Steve McNichol as well, I think, who's still kicking around and doing the smaller chapbooks, I guess you could say, on the history of the railways. Pitchy Ritchie, yeah. I went looking for a patchouli plant because apparently the indigenous version of tobacco, but they're probably not pointing it out to anybody. I don't know. It would just be interesting to chew on it and see what happened. That's just how I roll. But this was a 1975 edition, which leads next to, and that was just a bit of a historical pickup, really. And like I said, I really did learn more about the actual lead up and some of the stuff that went on in the lead up to the reopening of the railway and what went on after as well, in a bit more detail, because it had only just been started all afresh at that point in time. And so that goes with that one, the 100 years of the Pitchy Ritchie Railway. So the whole thing was recompiled like 5 years later, to encompass all of the history of the Pitchy Ritchie Railway. And again, kind of, all your black and white photos and stuff. So we got that one from 1980. Whoops. And that's why it was a real pleasure to pick up this book when I was up in Quorn in July, where you have Rodney Barrington, who was part of the second book and now wrote the third book. So there's been a bit of torch passing of storytelling of the Pitchy Ritchie Railway between this old book in 1975 to this old book in 2024. And so much has changed, and I'm so happy to find gems like this in country bookstores like Almara bookstores. That's why I go to country bookstores when I can find them, because quite often they haven't been picked over in the same way that your local salvo store has. Now the plant is it's not dead, it's just resting. It is just resting. It's pining for the fjords. It is definitely not a dead plant. I definitely do not need to go to Bunnings and get a new background plant and put that one out to pasture, I think. When you think about it, it's been nearly 2 years. So O'Malley, that might be the little celebration piece for 2 years of good chats. Not only will I go that way, maybe unveil a new background plant, I might even wear a different shirt for a change. I think I've had this shirt for nearly 2 years now, so it's probably time for a different shirt. So that's about it, folks. I haven't had the time or even been on the computer for the last couple of weeks to do this. So we're going to wind it up. That's been about we'll do the 5-minute warning. And that's all, folks. I used to get plants from Nimbin, not anymore. I'd love to go back to Nimbin again, though, and just see what changes have happened over there, because I do remember it when it was a fair bit freer, and you didn't need a really large budget to go visiting Nimbin, whereas these days, a bit like Bellingen, it's the home of the multi-millionaire hippies. Just doesn't really work somehow, but it does. All these socially progressive hippie people that are in fact actually really rich. Bit of a conundrum in terms, but that's just the way things have developed. These guys, came in as hippies back in the 70s and the 80s, sometimes even earlier, and they rebuilt the culture of the areas that they moved into, and now all the tree changers want to live there. Thanks for coming on board, everybody. From the top to the bottom, Daryl, thanks always for your info. All the best with your Transport Spotters Worldwide Guide. Go and check it out, people, on Facebook. Luke's Fishing in the Northern Territory, thank you for coming on board. I did see your short the other day of fishing from the roadside at Adelaide River there. That's one place I'd love to check out one day, just the odd flick by the road as you head into the storm season. Would love to see more footage of that kind of stuff. Love a good storm, particularly if there's something railway related in the foreground. O'Malley Tours, welcome aboard. Sorry to hear about your camper van. Sorry, man. hopefully it gets fixed soon and you can get back out there again. But hey, that still, the project that you did there would be really, really interesting to see more images and more hear more about. JK, as always, welcome aboard, and thank you for sticking around, and thank you for always being here as well. I did give you a bit of a courtesy beep as I went through Gulgawi the other week, but you probably didn't hear it. Steve Klink, thanks for coming on board. Nico, thank you for coming on board. Andy, thank you for coming on board as always. Graham O'Neill, sir, thanks again. Ree, thanks for checking in just after you got home from work. Appreciate that, mate. And thank you to the other, I don't know, 10 or so other people that checked in over the course of the stream but never piped up. And thanks to thanks to ADHD, if you're still out there, mate. Always appreciate all of your support. And next week we are just back to normal. I'm probably not going to do a 100th episode special. I'm probably going to do a 2-year special, so that gives me a bit more time to go buy a plant from Bunnings. Maybe I'll try and make it look like this one and just pretend. I don't know, but we're nearly there. Can't believe it's been nearly 2 years. Anyway, we'll figure out something to talk about in Good Chats again next week. Send me stuff by email or on socials if you want me to research it a little bit more, and if you want me to bring it up so you can tell us what you know about stuff, because I don't know about you, I always learn more from the chat room, and I hope everyone in the chat room always learns a little bit more about things from each other as well. So until next week at Wednesday at 8:15 p.m, peace out. See you next week.